Hey guys, what's up? It's Greg Srisavasdi with CinemAddicts. For this week, the set of interviews, it's Eric Holmes talking to the directors of Happy Campers and hashtag Amfad, All My Friends Are Dead. Now, Happy Campers, directed by Amy Nicholson, was shot in 2019, and it's only coming out now, the year 2024. Currently, as of this recording, it is playing at New York's IFC Center. Eric Holmes is absolutely crazy about this movie. He loves this film. And in the interview with Nicholson, he was mentioning at how this documentary looks like is absolutely visually stunning. And if you are into the visuals of cinema, Amy Nicholson talks about using a Blackmagic pocket camera when she shot the movie in 2019. And she also discusses about living in the area. It's great. If you live in New York or near New York, this is one of those movies to watch at the IFC Center. In a couple of weeks on August 21st, it will be playing for 2 dates in Los Angeles. But I think for most people listening to this podcast, it will be available on demand in September, first week of September. I think September 10th, if I'm not mistaken. And we will make sure, Eric and I will make sure to remind you guys about Happy Campers. This feels like a very big gem that hopefully you'll be able to check out and tell me, Eric and Bruce, what you think of Happy Campers. Okay, so that's the first set of interviews. Second one is with Marcus Dunstan. He's the filmmaker behind hashtag Amfad, All My Friends Are Dead. This movie centers on a bunch of sort of just friends in their early 20s or mid 20s and their social influencers. They go into this Coachella festival-like situation for the weekend and they stay at a home. And one by one, sort of like that Agatha Christie book, 10 Little Indians, also known as And Then There Were None, each of these young people are killed, murdered by a mysterious serial killer, and they are killed by the 7 deadly sins. Okay? So what's interesting about this movie is it's shot in a very hyper real fashion, and I really love the editing, the frenetic pace, and how Marcus Dunstan really pushed the envelope as a filmmaker on this movie. By the way, I have not actually gone to Rotten Tomatoes to see its rating, and I should do the same thing with Happy Campers. I know Happy Campers was widely praised. Do not know about hashtag Amfad, All My Friends Are Dead. I really enjoyed it. Eric Holmes gave it 4.5 stars. I gave it 4 stars. Happy Campers I haven't seen yet, but Eric Holmes gave it 5 stars as well. I know his version of 5 stars is 6.9 stars. I will continue to mention it as 5 stars. So both of these movies, Happy Campers, directed by Amy Nicholson, documentary, right? And the second one, hashtag Amfad, All My Friends Are Dead, directed by Marcus Dunstan, are both highly recommended from Eric. And both of these films are available Happy Campers is not yet on VOD on September, but I will leave a link, an Amazon link, if you want to rent or purchase hashtag Amfad, All My Friends Are Dead. Me, Eric, Bruce, and Anderson do get a cut if you use our Amazon site Stripe or our links, Amazon links for purchases. Okay, that's a great way to support us here on CinemAddicts. Yeah, one of the things I really want to do more of, and I've been really horrible at this, is to actually put Eric's interviews up on our CinemAddicts podcast feed. He does so many interviews a week that I'm basically playing catch up. And I think this is actually value added for you guys, and also selfishly for me as a cinephile, just as a fellow cinephile. After the week is finished, I completely forget the movies that me, Bruce, and Eric covered, because we're just on to the next 3 to 5 movies we have to cover every single week. So it's a very fun grind, but the problem is when I look at the Google Docs and check out all the movies that all 3 of us have covered, it's just we can't catch our breath and really just enjoy these movies. And I think what'll happen is these interviews with Eric will give you insights on the movies we cover on a weekly basis, and also give me selfishly a little bit of time to reflect on the movies on a deeper fashion, because Eric does a great job as an interviewer. Again, so first off, check out the Happy Campers interview with Amy Nicholson. If you're near New York's IFC Center, up until August 13th. And Marcus Dunstan, very cool guy. It's so funny. Eric Holmes is a fan of his previous movie, Unhuman, And he and I have not seen, me and Eric have not seen Marcus Dunstan's two films, the Collector movies yet, but we both are a fan of him as a person, and we both loved it. Hashtag Amfad, all my friends are dead. We'd love to hear what you think of both of these movies. I will stop talking right now. Here is Eric Holmes, and check his interviews out with Happy Campers filmmaker Amy Nicholson and hashtag Amfad, all my friends are dead director Marcus Dunstan. Thanks again, guys, for supporting us on CinemAddicts, and our show will be up later this week on Thursday. Hope you enjoy it and have a great week. Bye.
All right, I believe I'm recording. That's a miracle. And I'm here with Amy Nicholson, the director of Happy Campers. I thought this was a documentary, and I'm watching it, and how beautiful the shots are and how well composed they are. I was like, is this a documentary? Or
that's so flattering.
I couldn't quite tell. The shots you have in here are amazing. And like, how much setup is that? Or was it just you locked the camera down and just got damn lucky? Or like, how was that?
Yeah, people ask me that. They say, oh, did you set up the camera and just wander away for, an hour or so? And you kind of can't really do that with the little camera that I had. I had a Blackmagic 4K pocket cam, but I did not, because they can get very heavy once you add everything to it. I did not opt for a very long battery. So I had pockets full of these little batteries that I would swap out like every 20 minutes. So I didn't wander away too much. I did that a couple of times, but really just everyone knew me, Eric, and I had been there for like a year and a half without filming anything. I took a lot of pictures, and then during the winter, I would print the pictures out and send them to people that I met and say, hey, can't wait to see you next summer. But everybody kind of knew me. So it wasn't a big camera setup. Like I said, it was this little Blackmagic with a really good microphone. I got great advice on that because I knew sound was such a huge part of the film. And I put everything in a garden cart and I wheeled around with my garden cart. And when I saw something great, I stopped. So that was it.
Well, what got you started on this? Because just hanging out with look, they're closing down the trailer park and it's incredibly sad. But at the same time, like hanging out with these people, that must have been a blast. Just they just seem like great people to hang out with.
It was the best time of my life, honestly. It was really, I remember coming back because I had filmed it in 2019 before the pandemic. And, once we all got into lockdown and, you're sort of in your house by yourself going like, oh, okay, boy, do I miss those people. It was, you really had time to contrast and compare and think about how much fun it is to be so social with that many people at once and then not have that, which I know everybody was kind of thinking about, but I came right from having 150 families as neighbors that were, 10 feet from each other. And so it was hard. It's hard to give it up, but yes, it was really a community.
And also, like, what was your thoughts on the story on this? Because the fact that the trailer park's going to close, that threat's looming throughout, but it's not really about that. It's about everyone just hanging out and just let's watch these people just kind of have their last hurrah. That's not typically a story documentarians usually go for. They usually go for the big sexy us versus them sort of thing.
Yes. And if I had $1 for every person who told me to make it us versus them, I would have paid for the movie. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to make that choice because you're right. You don't see it very often. But that was kind of my point all along. It really isn't about what will replace it or even about, there's evil developers everywhere. And a previous film that I made about the rezoning of Coney Island was really about the machine behind it and how all of that works. And I didn't want to make the same film again. I really wanted people to feel the value of things that don't have a price tag. They're not, you can't buy friendship. You can't buy generations of funny stories. You can't, you can't buy friendliness, from a stranger that, may or may not be right next door or might be down the way a little bit, but knows that you're part of the community. So they're open to you and they want to know who you are and how you're doing and how's your mom. And, those things have such a value. And I wanted people to see it.
Yeah. And also, so in this, the people there must have been incredibly comfortable with you, because I think they like reference you like maybe once or twice. Like usually in a documentary, they're like, just like staring at it. But they were so comfortable, like, in their own skin. And it's almost like you weren't even there. And it just kind of draws you into that. Like, what was kind of their relationship with you in that regard as a filmmaker, not just someone hanging out?
Well, I had to explain a little bit. It's always weird when you film people because, first of all, people who aren't film people, they automatically assume you're going to put their image on social media. And as much crap as people post on social media, when someone else does it, it's a thing. So, you have to be sensitive to that. You have to be sensitive to people are very savvy about imagery these days and about where things go. And especially with children, I wouldn't even come near turning on the camera with some of the kids unless the mom was there and unless I had a signed release form. They shut me down a bit. They would say, "Oh, Amy, put the damn camera away and just come have a beer with us." Because, that was what that place was for. It was to get away. It was to relax. It was to, just hang out and do nothing with other people that you like. So I was trying to balance pushing it a little bit. And I would say, but when it's gone, no one's going to ever see this again. And we're going to want to see this again. And then I think it kind of started to sink in. And toward the end of the summer, I had no problem getting people to, they would just step in front of the camera and start talking. Like in the middle of the film where that woman with the blonde hair, Tammy, she was mowing the lawn. And I said, "Oh, Tammy, I think it's so nice that you're mowing your neighbor's lawn. I'm going to come over and film it next time." Because she was mowing it because the people had left. And she wanted it to look nice. And she wasn't sure if they were returning or not. She thought, well, it's the right thing to do. I'll just mow their lawn. And then she shut off the mower and she just started to say those beautiful things to me about how, she hopes she hopes their house isn't going to go into a dumpster because she admired what they had done with it. And it would just, that started to really happen toward the end because I think the emotions, overwhelmed people. And me too, I mean, we were always talking about it, by the end of the summer because it was just this looming thing.
You mentioned the release forms. I was talking with Don Mickelson, who directed Minnesota Mean, and she was talking about kind of the ethics of like, yeah, I shot some stuff, and legally I could do it because they signed the forms, but ethically, like they didn't want it, and I didn't want them to be mad about that. Like, what's kind of your take on that? Because I imagine you have similar thoughts on that.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, our Facebook page has become, there was a huge hub for this community on Facebook already. Our film page has kind of taken over that group. All along, even in editing, if I didn't know who someone was, I would post a picture and say, "Hey, does anybody know this person? We might use this scene, we might not." And then I went back to the island and I got people to come back, which is kind of a thing because everybody was from different states, and they all came back for the weekend and we had a big reunion, not last fall, but the fall before. What I did, because, when we were at the end of the summer, some people had left, some people had left early because I needed to make sure everybody was okay with the idea of it becoming a film, the footage becoming a film, because I wasn't really sure until I got back, and kind of looked at it. I held a rough cut screening and we had a big reunion on the island and everyone came and everyone had an opportunity to tell me like if there was anything they felt uncomfortable with. And I did have one woman who said, "I really don't want to be on camera, but you can use my voice." And, people have their personal reasons for not wanting to appear and I respect it. And we cut around her. So
yeah. Well,
everybody else was fine, which is a lot of people. So
yeah, if you shot everything and then everyone all at once was like, well, I guess I don't have a movie. That sucks.
No, but I was very honest about what I was doing. And, they make the film. I don't really make the film. The people make the film. So
Yeah. And I think that kind of you out of the movie and just kind of looking through the camera. And again, holy crap, this thing looks beautiful.
Oh,
In
thank
fact,
you.
should mention Happy Campers opens theatrically in New York August 7th at IFC Film Center, LA on August 21st at Limley Theaters, and then VOD later on September 10th. But if you can watch this in the theater, holy crap, this thing looks amazing. And I think the and was the crew just you?
Just me.
Well, hell.
That was it. But I had a wonderful colorist who fixed all my exposures, and I have fabulous editors who cut around all the times that I messed up. And sound design was a ginormous part of this movie. It was a big part of it. Matt Davies did the sound design, and we spent probably that was the bulk of our finish. It was about 6 months in sound design.
Yeah, but yeah, I cannot stress this enough. If you live in LA or New York and can watch this in a theater, do it. That's the preferred method because this thing looks absolutely gorgeous, especially the night shots. Oh my God.
Well, that is the Blackmagic camera. That little camera, I mean, you're shooting and sometimes you don't even know what you're getting. And I got back and I was like, wow.
But you know what? Blackmagic needs to throw you a check because if this movie is not a great advertisement for Blackmagic, I don't know what is. But Amy, yeah, Happy Campers, August 7th in New York, August 21st in Lemley, and September 10th on VOD. Great documentary, great people that you showed to the world, and congratulations on a well-made doc.
Thank you so much.
That doesn't even look like a doc. It doesn't even look like...
I love that. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Long night. Sorry.
Don't worry. What do you do?
Oh, I normally work nights, so like.
Where do you work? What's going on?
I run karaoke.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I bet. What's your go-to?
I do Insane in the Brain pretty well, but it's kind of they kind of forced it onto me. But I'm here with Marcus Dunstan,
Hello.
the director of All My Friends Are Dead. I guess we'll start off with because you've done a lot of writing. You've done some writing and directing, and this you just directed. What goes into the thought process of what job you're going to take for this particular movie?
So I was very fortunate that I've collaborated as a co-writer, and I work with Patrick Melton. So he and I have been in a partnership of writing, creating, producing now for 20 years. And one of our favorite collaborators that we work with is Kevin Greuter. Kevin Greuter is like the Nicholas Meyer of the Saw movies. He's been there through all of them, but when he steps up to the plate, he makes just really, really great stories. And like, it's just awesome. I love them when he comes in. So he was the original director of All My Friends Are Dead. And when Saw 10's obligations superseded that, there was a vacancy because All My Friends Are Dead as a production was still coming together. So I'm grateful he nominated me to jump into the ring. I auditioned for it. And I was fortunate enough to then read Josh Sims and Jessica Seraflom's screenplay. And when I did that, holy cow, this was a voice from another dimension. These were people that I felt like I was eavesdropping on. This was something that was a murder mystery, and I love murder mysteries. I had never done a murder mystery. That was scary. Scary good. Then there was this twist I did not see coming. Oh, yeah. Then there was also a heart. And I thought, okay, I want this. I want to protect this. I want in. How can I help? Let's go.
Well, also with this, your previous movie, Unhuman,
yeah,
and like even the Feast movies which you wrote, and the Saw movies, like they all have this kind of like really violent, really fun kind of feel to them. And I'm guessing the script was really similar to your own sensibilities.
I mean, the scripts when they were written, yes, like Josh and Jessica had a nice tone that was very nimble with that. And I want to say there's a particular scene with a squirrel where I'm like, okay, that's a big swing right away. And what I loved about the confidence of that swing was that it was entirely made from a point of view like the characters were written to not be confined by the expectations of a by the numbers, kill the young folks. No, we were going to spend enough time with each person to know them, to maybe recognize them from our lives, from some stop along the way, if you will. So that scene to me became almost the most important because it had to be humorous. It had to be a little psychedelic. It had to also be informative. And it was a chance to simply, with zero special effects, big wonder, whatnot, spend enough time and get to know somebody that maybe if they do befall a killer, oh, we start to feel something. And that scene represents a giant tonal shift, because what happens after that is that horror movie character that's been waiting, that's been lurking, that's been watching all these people get sucked into that glass window to nowhere of their phone while they turn their back to the rest of the dark of the world, is waiting. And it is after that scene that the horror movie says, I'll take it from here.
I do like that squirrel scene. That was kind of like I'm watching going, oh, okay, we're doing this now.
Good. And I want to share, this is the first time I brought this up in the interview, so I'm glad I get a chance to. Dan Rubin is an investor in All My Friends Are Dead. Dan Rubin is his bread and butter comes from marijuana branding. And so the opening of All My Friends Are Dead is an animated commercial. So it feels like you're in a theater and whatnot, but you cannot market marijuana with a commercial throughout I think the United States, and I don't think you can do so even in France. But guess what? A la the Big Kahuna Burger of a certain other awesome director's universe, the Tarantino-verse, we have the goat. And the goat actually exists. The goat is a brand of marijuana that the character Guy, who is the one who likes to celebrate with every molecule of his being. So there is a version of this movie, a version meaning like, if you are so inclined, if you do enjoy having a green screen when you watch a movie, every time you hear the utterance of the word goat, and maybe you would take a hit off the goat, which you can get from Dan Rubin's store, it's called the goat. By the time the character Guy runs afoul of our bad guy, you will be flying. Dan
Nice.
Rubin, the goat. Thank you, Dan, for giving us not only a wonderful budget uptick, but really inspired all the ideas. And his team made that commercial at the opening. So I kind of like that the traditional, there's a traditional expectation of a character that does drugs and kind of has a particular way, but brought to life by the great, the graceful, the kind Jack Dope Smith. No, I liked him. I recognize that friend. I've been on that friend's couch when my day fell apart. That's the friend that put me back together.
Well, definitely heard of drinking games. I think this is the first smoking game I've heard of. So
I like the idea of the smoke along. It's got to be there. That's what I felt like. That's pretty darn rad, because anymore, hey, why not? Go green.
yeah, yeah, why not? What's your favorite, like? So when you do write, obviously you didn't write this one, but you did write some bunch of other movies. Like, what kind of goes through your head as you're deciding to put a screenplay together, or as you're like, do you have the full movie mapped out, or do you just kind of like have a start idea where you're going and just kind of see where you go from there?
Oddly enough, I tend to hear it first, and it might be a piece of music, and it might be a song, it might be it might be even something from just the wild, or hearing something in nature, really. The negotiation of terms we have with things that have been here long before us and whatnot, making a sound that we can never see the source of, but it envelops us. Then thinking of like, okay, now what is the intent of this feeling? Is this a story, and would this feeling maintain? So All My Friends Are Dead is a Richter scale where it's humor, it's drama, it's whatnot. You're really learning every facet of these lives before some are so graphically taken. And in the creation process, if I kind of know what it sounds like, then I know where I'm going. And then I'll try to stay in that feeling. And then I have found that that will help inform me where I would like to go with kind of charting that path. And speaking of sound, everybody in hashtag Amfad, All My Friends Are Dead, wore multiple hats. So the actor, a ringer who I've worked with 4 times, Michaela Russell, co-wrote 33 original songs. So Michaela hails from South Africa, and where she was a daytime soap performer. She was a CNN correspondent. She was an actor of drama and whatnot. So to collaborate on this and not only have the great actor, but then she reached back to these marvelous musicians in South Africa and produced a soundtrack, a needle drop that was also a character reflection. We have jokes that are song lyric dependent that had to be written and shot first, written second, and then layered in last so we could puppeteer them. There is a beats per minute aesthetic to the culture we wanted to go for in this. And that is, let's say you're in a car going 100 miles an hour. Every movie, every bit of stimulus, everything on your phone's like that billboard that goes, boom. We wanted to create something that not only had the look and the high intensity saturation to get your eye, to earn your eye's attention. But then when you hear it, we hang on to it. And we need to hang on to it for all 91 minutes because hashtag Amfad, all my friends are dead, does not stop at the end credit. You got to watch the credits because we've got more twists than a pretzel and we're punching for your eyes until the bloody end.
I didn't pick up on any of that, but it'd be good to go back and kind of like point that out. What other kind of details you got in this that, because I'm dumb, a lot of things go right over my head.
Whoa. I want to share with you something that someone once said to me. No, you are not.
Oh,
but
go on.
No. You can't aim in. Otherwise, what's that going to do for you? Don't you dare believe that. No, you're not. Guess what? You're our lighthouse. We need each other to exist in this thing. Congratulations. You're here. You get to shine light on something that we absolutely adore. You are not. You are there. No, you're at the top of the mountain for me, man.
All right. Well, I'm the smartest person in the world, but regardless, I didn't pick up on these details. So, there are some other details that you have kind of hidden? And do these come during the writing process, or these come in like you're shooting and like, hey, what if we did this? This would be a cool thing to add.
In some cases, because once I realized how gifted this cast was, and we hope for that, but Julian Haig, who plays LB, was able to get the cast together. And this is Jennifer Enns, this is Ali Fumiko Whitney, aforementioned Jack Dope Smith, Cardi Wong, Justin Derrickson, and then they were of Vancouver, so they were up in Vancouver. He put together a Zoom, so they play the crux of the cabal, the friend group. That then Jade, who is domestic, and Ali Fumiko Whitney is also like L.A. or I'm sorry, New York and Vancouver, where I think works in both. And then JoJo, we're kind of on the outside of that friend group. So when we showed up, that was something that had already taken flight. So to get to the root of your question, okay, now I knew we could do that. Now, courtesy of shooting in order, that was a lifesaver. And that's Kirk Shaw, the Stephanie Rennie. We shot in order so we could develop and find other tones. We could take a scene and say, like, all right, the script is asking, I think, here for a dramatic interpretation. But now the cameras might be able to tell us another bit of subtext to plant some seeds, to cast some doubt for some suspicion. And hey, if we come up with maybe something more acerbic to say, some dark humor, if we can earn that in there, great. We will try all of this. And then if it wasn't for the ace collaborator, Andrew Coots, he's the one who then takes all of this material and creates what is the meal of it. And it was so wonderful to have all of this wonderful marble to shape into the statue that is Amfad, all my friends are dead.
All right. Well, end with this. We have a segment where we like to ask people such as yourselves looking for movie recommendations, and these would be movies that are either personal to you or a movie that's like, that movie's really good and literally no one talks about it. What's a movie you would like to recommend?
There's one that far too few people saw that I absolutely love that's recent, and this is easy. It's The Fall Guy. I thought The Fall Guy was wonderful. It was, do you know what? I watched The Fall Guy with my parents, and when the lights came up, my mom said, I don't even know if I want to watch something after this right away because I like how I feel. I love how I feel. That's high praise for any piece of entertainment. That's huge. I also highly recommend a movie from the early 80s called The Hidden. And if you haven't seen The Hidden by Jack Shoulder, that's a great surprise. Also in modern and streaming, if folks just want to drop in and be blown away by directing, acting, and surprise, the season 3 finale of the show Dave is it's a 47-minute masterpiece. And I watched that and thought, my goodness, the gift of tone, surprise, performance, vulnerability, everything. Wow. So I've got those 3 for you.
All right. Well, yeah, those are 3 I haven't seen. So those are pretty good picks.
There you go.
Hashtag Amfad, All My Friends Are Dead, comes out in theaters on demand August 2nd. I would recommend theaters. This would be a great movie to watch with a group. I think this is like certain movies you can watch by yourself. This is one that like I think kind of levels up when you're amongst friends and other theater goers.
Well, thank you. And by all means, check out our trailer. It was made to really sell what the tone is. And I think that thank you for saying so. Because when we were so fortunate, we sold out 3 screenings and the Tribeca Fest. And to watch the silhouettes laugh, jump in unison, that's an unrivaled just high. That's such a marvelous experience. So yes, this August 2nd, we're going to be in some theaters. And like, we're in an era where that's not always guaranteed. You can make a great movie and someone might delete it. We're coming to theaters August 2nd. Like, we'd love to see you there. And if the theater is just simply too far away, we're on demand. You can demand us wherever you wish us. Thank you. Thank you for this time. And please stay through the credits. Please. Yeah.
Marcus, thanks for joining me. And check it out August 2nd. If you watch it at home, smoke weed while you do it. It's certain.
Yeah, I mean, you've got that option. You have that option with any movie, but with this one, there, if you wait for the word or see the word goat.
All right. Thanks, Marcus.